shared on this.
All good.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for. I just really want to quickly say thank you all for coming to the inaugural Wolfjam Hackathon. A couple quick things before we jump in. I just want to say a huge thank you to Wolfjam Studios for allowing us to run this event. Also want to say a really big thank you to Danielle, our operations person at Wolfjam Studios, who without her, none of this would have happened. So thank you, Danielle, for all your hard work, ordering food and ordering tables and chairs, helping to coordinate everything. You're awesome, and just thank you for everything. So I'm super excited for a great evening, so let's get started. All right, first up, another big thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you all for your generous donations to the Wolfjam Hackathon. This is the first year that we did this, and we had really incredible success, huge turnout. We've got something like 200 people signed up for this, and I think we're up to like 50 people in person right now, which is just absolutely incredible. So thank you to the sponsors for helping us to put this together. We really appreciate everything. Also want to thank all of our volunteers for the night. If anybody needs anything throughout the night, we've got these sweet tags that say event staff or volunteer. So if you need anything, got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll do our best to get you whatever you need. Cool, now a word from a couple of our sponsors. First up, I'm going to be talking on behalf of Katina Tools. Katina Tools is a suite of back-end tools that allows game studios to quickly get a back-end for your game up and running. And for participating in the hackathon, Katina Tools has agreed to offer everyone participating, those of you here in person and everybody at home online on Discord, a free non-commercial license to utilize the back-end tools pretty much forever. So as long as it's a non-commercial thing, you can use it. Things that you'll get with it, it has an account system, a matchmaker, it's got a inventory system, and a couple other things. So if you're planning on building any kind of games and need to get something set up very quickly, feel free to use it. We'll have some more information in the Discord on how you can get started. So once you guys are ready, you can hop over there. And next I would like to invite up Sarah from TVGS, who's going to be talking to you guys a little bit about Pixels for Progress and Extra Life.
Hello. Oh, good, it does work. I'm Sarah, and I'm one of the co-organizers of Pixels for Progress, which is a civic engagement game jam. We're kicking off tomorrow from 10 to 6. We're having basically a concerted workshop and mini game jam starter effort. We're going to be ongoing on the Discord until about mid-December, though. So it's not something you have to commit to do all at once. It's going to be something that we're going to be able to accommodate lots of different schedules for people. So we'd love to have you join us on our Discord if you're interested in making games that make a difference. We're pairing social activists with people that want to make games and helping people to gamify social movements. I'm also shouting out the Extra Life streaming that's going on kind of right behind over there. Chris from Tech Valley Game Space, hi Chris, is going to be doing some Extra Life streaming, so maybe pop in and play some games and raise some money for charity. And I think that's all I had to say.
Cool.
Yes, that's all I had.
Thank you, Sarah. Awesome, and now for the main attraction. Everyone could please give a big round of applause to Cody Germain, here all the way from San Diego. He's the head of product for Rocket League at Psyonix. Come on up, Cody.
First of all, I want to thank everybody here for coming, specifically Wolfjam Studios. You guys have been putting on great work and great events for years now, and I'm just really excited to see what everybody brings to this one specifically. Additionally, I really want to shout out Mitchell as well. I've known Mitchell for a couple years now. I'm really excited that he invited me to talk to you guys. We've been working together since I started pretty much at Riot, and it's just been a relationship that's grown over time. So really great. Thank you, Mitchell, for having me up here. And then last but definitely not least, this whole crew here today and everybody that's online, I am absolutely certain that you guys are going to make some really cool stuff in the next 24 hours. I've been a part of a couple of hackathons in my day, and it's always amazing what you think you can't do, and you end up doing it anyway. So really, really excited to see everybody here doing this stuff. This is really, really great. So I'm going to jump in here, and we're going to talk about some fun stuff. But before you guys jump off and kind of solve the next big technology problem, or even like the small problems that you might want to get after, I want to kind of talk about how you get there. When you're kind of jumping into the problem, like when you're thinking about what you're going to create or the mountain that you're going to climb in the next 24 hours, it does not have to end with a perfect cherry on top. It doesn't. And I think just keep that in your mind when you're doing this. Nolan Bushnell, he's the founder of Atari. When what he said about kind of Pong when he gets started is something that maybe you could take with you kind of going into this evening, right? He said, we didn't make a square ball in Pong because we thought it was cool. We made it because it was the only thing that we could do. And when taking away something from that, it's obviously a little bit deeper than it sounds on the surface, but it's simple, really. It's what makes a great product isn't the perfect execution of the thing. It is the capturing of the opportunity or value you're actually going after. And I think that's what everybody here is trying to do tonight, right? So remember, you don't have to be perfect on your first swing. You just have to take that first step. So let's start off with that. Now in 1975, arcade machines and games were on the edge of something great. Odyssey brought the first white ball with 2 paddles to your home console. You could only play it with one console and you could only play one game. It didn't do that well, but they opened up a door for everybody else coming in the future. At that time, there were only a few game companies around the world. Gamers and arcade goers were playing multiple of their games in the arcade, but when you came home, you could only play one game. You could only play the little ball on the Odyssey platform, right? A handful of players were really shooting to make a splash in that home market, but one game maker, and one company specifically, stood out way above everybody else. Again, when Nolan Bushnell and Atari released Pong and other popular 70s arcade games on the first home console in 1975, that 2600 VCS, it just absolutely destroyed the video game world. They sold over 150,000 copies in their first year, and in today's numbers, that doesn't sound that crazy, but that's absolutely massive. They captured in the 10 years that they were there, they captured over 60% of the video game market, and at the time that was valued at about $3 billion. So they made huge leaps in a 10-year time frame. Not only did they just bring Pong to the world, but they brought a series of amazing games. They brought Space Invaders, Asteroids, and they completely flipped the entertainment market on their head. And they did that very quickly by just going after one clear thing. They wanted to solve that home console market. Now they obviously expanded into other things over time, but that first step was really what got them started. In 1984, they kind of lost all of it by making one big bet, and they lost about $500 million. But that does not take away from the fact that they completely changed the market, and they did it very quickly. Since then, and today, the market's over $200 billion globally. That's an insane amount of growth in just 30-something years, right? And every single person in this room, myself, Tom, Mitchell, everybody here at Wolfjam, they're all doing the same thing that the teams did in Atari like 20, 30 years ago, right? They're taking each incremental step as they go. And when you're here and you're thinking about your opportunities, just keep that, again, right there in your mind. Now, with that opportunity, I will actually introduce myself. My name is Cody Germain. As Tom said, I'm the studio product director for Psyonix. I work with Epic Games. I manage all the portfolio and products at Psyonix. So I manage the Rocket League, Sideswipe, all the R&D that goes on, all the under-the-hood back-end work, and I also work across Epic on Fortnite and the variety of products that are interlinked there. Most of my day-to-day is just evaluating opportunities and making sure that we're investing in the right things. And then supporting the game development teams as they kind of do that thing. So for example, I don't know if any of you guys are League of Legends fans. I used to work on League. When they decided to go after the auto battler genre and they invested in TFT, there was a product director that sat next to the executive producer and said, guys, we should be doing this thing over here. And if you know right now, TFT is the biggest auto battler on the planet, and they have over like 25 million players now, right, every day. So over the last decade, I've been growing up in this space. When I started, I knew absolutely nothing about the video game industry. Hopefully that's not me anymore. Going through those opportunities, going through understanding like what what a product value is, that's my day-to-day job. It's something that helps me like make my decision. Now, when I started in the game industry, I said that I didn't know anything about it, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I just loved games. I actually started with a degree in finance and accounting from Binghamton University, just down the street, right? And I worked in that for about 6 years, and I hated it. There's nothing wrong with finance and accounting. There's nothing wrong with consulting. There's nothing wrong with risks. And in fact, actually, the things I do every day, probably the most valuable experience I got before gaming was actually learning all about those things. That's what makes me successful today. But like everyone here, I'm sure everybody here in this room is here for a reason, right? You have to follow your passion, and mine was games. It's just the reality. And so with that, with the friendships that you make in games, with the freedom that it brings to work on something that you're passionate about, I went after it. I got my first job at Riot as a QA analyst about 9 years ago now, 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago now, right? And I took a 67% pay cut to do it. It was absolutely astronomical, and it felt really weird. I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing, but took a 67% pay cut. My now wife looked at me and goes, "I really hope you know what you're doing." And I assure everybody here, I did not. I promise you. I still sometimes don't even know, right? But that's okay, because as I was talking before, that was my first step. That was the first step for me to get into the thing that I love. Now, when we talk about what you're doing here this evening, what you're trying to accomplish, it's okay not to know where you'll end up. I know we talked about that. It's actually even okay if you don't know where to start. That's kind of what we're here to do, is to learn and figure out what we're trying to get after, right? The only thing you have to understand here is what problem you want to solve. And then what's stopping you from solving it, and then what step you can take that's right in front of you to get rolling. So we're going to call this the rule of 3 today. The first part of that rule is the problem. Identifying what problem is you're trying to solve or what opportunity you're going after is half the battle. Dev teams, business owners, Fortune 500 companies, they're all looking for a big golden problem to solve. They're all trying to maximize something across the industry. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make $1 billion play today. You don't have to make any dollar play. You're here to learn something and to grow incrementally what you think you can do. And I think that's like one of the most freeing things about working at a hackathon. You're coming in with the expectations no one else has in mind. So for example, when Edison invented the light bulb, he didn't invent a 10,000-hour bulb on day one. He just tried to make incandescent light more efficient, right? The fact that we now have light bulbs everywhere and it revolutionized the entire industry of light, that actually came much, much later. So just like with Edison, just like with anything that you're doing, this is your first step today. For me, told you before, when I started at Riot, I had no idea what I was doing. The first day I was handed a laptop. I sat down next to a lovely person named Albert, and I was told, "This is your team, get started." Now exactly what I was supposed to get started on with Albert, I hadn't a single clue. Albert really loved Diablo 3. From what I could tell, that was his main focus. But he did give me a spreadsheet, and he did give me access to the first League client build that I worked on. And then he returned to Diablo 3 to grind some rips. But with my computer and my spreadsheet, I had a big opportunity in that moment, right? I had a team I didn't know. I had tech I had never worked with before. And I had a new role where I only had business or risk experience. So for me, what was stopping me? What was stopping you today, right? Same things. Now rule number two, what's blocking you? When you get into problem solving, the most natural thing, and I see this every single day, the most natural thing is, what can I do to solve it? It is not, what is the scope of this problem? It is not, how much time is this going to take me? None of that comes up. And I bring that up because it should. When you're here today, I implore you, take 2 seconds to stop and think about the entire scope of what you're trying to do, and think about what the most valuable thing is you can do first. The way that I would do this, take clear stock of everything that you have on your whiteboards or on your pieces of paper or use the internet, right? And understand, where do I want to be tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, right? Where do I want to be at the end of this hackathon experience? And hopefully it'll take you into the next steps of what you want to do for the next 24 hours. From there, maybe it takes you into the next steps of your career. Who knows? In 2013, example, UPS, the Postal Service, promise for delivery actually failed millions and millions of people. They had promised that they would get packages to everybody on the day that they said when you signed up for them. I don't know if you guys know the holiday experience. Pretty sure everybody does at this point. They made a commitment that they absolutely could not back up. They failed to step back and look at the entire problem that they're looking at, and they missed blockers in logistics, they missed blockers in people, they missed planes, they missed trucks. They ended up spending millions and millions of dollars and affecting millions of people in one day that they could have avoided by not making a single promise to the left. Everything on the 24th, right? It'll be UPS in this scenario. Don't try and fight off the entire world. Just try and make a little bit of incremental gains every single time you move. And do your homework. Back to Riot, as I ramped into my role, I was doing something similar. I was going through a similar exercise that UPS went to. I spent the entire first week of my job failing miserably. Couldn't highlight enough how much I failed. In the first day, I broke 3 builds. I annoyed every single producer on the project. There were 5 of them. And I generally blocked every engineering pod. My first day. Massive failure on the surface, but by the end of the week, I knew everything that I had to know what I had to solve. I had 8 clear blockers that I now knew were not just my job responsibilities, but were dependencies for the entire dev process, at least on the lead client that I worked on, right? By failing quickly and finding your blockers today, or anything you're working on, you'll know where to go next, and you'll know how to go there. Now, the next and final phase, the number 3 rule, is what is the first step you can take to get moving? What do you do first? What is the thing that you can't move forward without completing? Finding that what gets you started generally will lead to the shining light of the next steps and the next steps, and it will take you to another checkpoint. And at every checkpoint, you're going to see closer and closer, your goal is coming to you. You're not going to your goal is going to come right to you. And by being disciplined and making sure that you continue to take those steps every single day, you're going to solve that original problem. You will. It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but you'll get there if you keep on diligently doing that. For me, to close out my first month at Riot, and set me up basically for the career I have today, I set up each one of those blockers that I've identified in that first week from failing. And I knocked them down one by one in order. With help from the team, by reaching out to other people, but we knocked them down. By the end of the first month, not only had I figured out how to set up a test framework, automate it, and then taken ownership of multiple software pods, but I set up a process that anybody that joined Riot could stand up and first day they joined, get their script started, and be ready to dev by the end of the next day. And that for me was something that set me apart. And that was very small because I did it one step at a time, and I think everybody here is capable of doing the exact same thing. So for you guys in this moment, when you're looking at tomorrow, what is something that you'll do immediately after all of this talking stops and you get started with your fingers on keyboards or building whatever you're going to build? What's the first thing that's going to kick you guys off to success? What are the steps you're going to take to knock down those blockers? And I really can't wait to see where we all land. But most importantly, I really want to see the first steps that you guys actually take. As you'll pave your way for the future of what you're doing and what you guys have for the end of the day tomorrow, I'm sure there's going to be some really great designs, really great products, and even some engaging new innovations. I'm absolutely certain of that. So again, I'm Cody Germain. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you. I think it's about time for you guys to take your first step, and I'm going to hand you over back to Tom. He's going to help you do that.
Cool. You're a great guy.
I'll try to keep it with it.
Thanks, Cody. Awesome. Yeah, Cody, that was super inspirational. That's incredible. Love your journey through Riot and all the way to Psionics and Epic. So thank you for sharing with us today. So just a couple quick things to get you guys started. Logistics and housekeeping. First up, I want to talk about the prizes. For anyone who's not aware, there are prizes for the hackathon. For first place, the winning team will receive one iPad Generation 10, one Xbox Series X, and one PS5 to be split amongst yourselves how you choose. So if you decide you want to cut up a PS5 8 ways, I think I saw the Discord at one point, your call. Second place is going to be getting an iPad and an Xbox Series X, and then third place will be getting an iPad. Judging criteria. Sorry, the notes over here. I'm going to move over this way so I can actually see it. Judging criteria. I posted about this in the Discord, but our judges are going to be looking to judge all of your projects on 3 main things. The first thing is on originality. This is basically a whatever unique approach you take to solving a problem or the uniqueness of whatever you build. The second thing is going to be functionality and technical implementation. We're interested to hear about what are some of the challenges that you had to overcome and how you decided to overcome them. And then the last thing is polish and completion. So we are strongly encouraging you all to try to get a project done. Much like Cody mentioned at the beginning, figure out what can you realistically accomplish in the next 24 hours, and let's get as close to that as humanly possible. Last thing, submissions. So all submissions are due tomorrow, November 4th at 6:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And they are due via our dev post, which is linked here. This is also all linked and talked about in the Discord. So if you have any questions, go in there. Feel free to reach out to an admin. Someone will get back to you at some point. Last thing, this should hopefully help you all actually get started. We have Wi-Fi in the building. The Wi-Fi is posted everywhere, but in case you haven't seen it, here you go. And the last thing, just before we go, is good luck and have fun and build some really cool stuff.